Hello everyone, my name is François Lionet and Jean-François Richard, one of the organizers of this demo party, has asked me to make a 1 hour or 45 minutes presentation of what I and my partners have been working since more than 3 years now. It's called AoZ Studio. So that's what I'm going to do. At the end of this presentation, will be available on the discussion channel for your questions. AoZ Studio is my latest product, and I'm going to show it to you. It's a game engine specifically designed for to learn to code in using the syntax of Amos Basic. If you don't never heard of Amos Basic on the Amiga or Stos Basic on the Atari, then I will begin with the history of somehow my career because it's linked to the product I have made when I was younger. Then I will make a tour of the interface and show you some demos. Then I will dive a bit further down in the structure of the transpiler, the extensions, and the language itself. To finally end with some ideas about what we are going to do in the future and opening to hardware and robotics and this kind of things. Thank you very much. Please understand that even if it's a commercial product, it's made in the spirit of open source and participation, and in no way we want to advertise and push the product. You discover it if you want. If you're making demos today, maybe you don't need to learn to code, but you might have some kids, and that might be interesting for them to have a simple tools to learn by having fun and making games. So thank you for watching, and I have my AoZ cap that I will put and start to demo you the product. Thank you very much. See you for the questions at the end. So, to talk about the history, the best is to use what's on our website, our story. I am 58 years old, and when I was 18, I bought my first computer. It was in 1981, and the computer was a Ohio Scientific Super Bowl 2. It was a 6502 board with a keyboard and a modem and a cassette desk, not a modem, a cassette desk. And it was a really cool machine, and I made a lot of games for my friends and joined the vet school of Lyon to become a vet, and I have a vet diploma. So I made a lot of game, and as I had all my afternoon at the vet school, I could program a lot. Then I made my first commercial game on the ORIC. Basically, I made a game and then I sent it to publishers, and it was published, and I made quite some of money. So at the end of my studies, I decided not going to be a vet, but a programmer. Like everyone, I had a couple of difficult, rough years of looking for adaptations and simple games to port from machine to machine, and there was a lot of machines at the time like CPC, Commodore 64, VIC-20, Oric, Spectrum, etc. So I worked on all these machines. Like if you're in this demo party and interested in True Retro, certainly many of you. And I still regret the time of simplicity, but we had the same pleasure, but it was a lot simpler. So in 1986, I started to work on a product called STOS. STOS was to be a replacement of the Atari ST Gem that no member of our team at the time liked. It was to be a DOS window, like on a DOS machine, kind of not really appealing, but very professional, and a basic language to make basic application, like it was at the time. You also always have GW Basic with the DOS. But as a game programmer, to start, I made a lot of sprite and sound and music and animation routines So basically, it was a game creation basic. But the product was not marketed properly, and we only sold like 10 copies in France. So after a while, Jacques and Frederick, my partners at the time, went to England and showed STOS to several publishers. And there was one was absolutely frantic about it. It's Mandarin software that was run by a very incredible person called Chris Payne that was really dynamic and active, who all immediately saw the potential of focusing only on the basics, so where to drop the DOS, and making it colorful and for kids to learn to code their own games. So at the end, we had a really nice box with colors that some people will remember. And the product was an instant success. And Mandarin Software was already a big publishing company originating from Europress Publishing that had several magazines. STOS was a success, and then came STOS compiler. But only a success in England was imported a bit in France and a bit in Germany. In 1998, 99 or 8, Europress asked me to make an Amiga version of STOS, and so I got my first Amiga machine, and I was of course blown away, like many, like everyone here, by the possibility of the machines. So I, instead of making a plain adaptation, I rewrote it completely and came Amos. That was also published in a nice box for kids with a lot of adverts, so it was an even bigger success. And then came the range of product for the for Amos, the Amos compiler, Easy Amos, Amos Pro, and Amos Pro compiler. But on the diffusion side, it was only mainly in England, a bit in France and Germany, and the northern country, but that's all. It's only starting in 1991 that Europress Software, the new name of Mandarin, decided to put the old version on the covers of magazines. And not only in England, in the whole Europe. So by 1993, Amos and all the related product has been duplicated millions of times because it was very frequently on the cover of magazine, and each time was shown as an event. You get the full product for the price of a magazine, etc. So basically, Amos at the end was known everywhere. And even later, for example, in Poland, I know the story, where they only had modern computers, Western computers after 95. Amos was the choice for the one who had a new Amiga and wanted to make games. So it was very popular, but with a shift in time. After Amos, when the Amiga unfortunately died or slept, I founded Click Team with my partner Yves Lamoureux that I met when doing the adaptation of Captain Blood. And we founded Click Team, also a game creation engine, but a graphical one, precursor of Scratch and this kind of tools. To make a long story short, I left Click Team 5 years ago, went to Norway to work for Hogne Tiltestal and his company Friend. Hogne is a real Amiga fan and demo maker, and I was back into the Amiga, the world of the Amiga that I somehow neglected a bit during the Click Team years, and also started to receive letters from people like you who watch me or into retro computing and saying that they thanked me for having taught to them programming. They were like 10, 12, 14 when Amos was out and started to make games. And I always say that if you know how to make a game, then computers have no mystery for you, because they deal with every aspect of a computer, not only database and clickable interface, but movement, graphic as fast as possible, all possible kind of sound, 3D, etc. So if you know how to make a game, then you certainly are a good programmer. And it seems that Amos or Stos were good learning tools as well as being fun. That's it, that's what I wanted to bring. And it started to pop in my mind that it would be cool to make a new version of Amos on the PC or any machine in the browser so that it works everywhere using JavaScript and Java, especially HTML5 and all the media possibilities. Now, browser and JavaScript is okay, slower than C++, but largely enough to do really cool games. So when I arrived in Poland 3 years ago, in September 2018, after a rough start, I created a Patreon for founding Amos 2 and was surprised to get some support. So it really helped me at the first time I found a job and in wonderful company called QLock. And Amos 2 was born, so I left the company QLock in July to work full time on Amos 2, and then that's where the project AoZ really started. Met Baptiste Pilot. Baptiste is a programmer that founded two computer service companies in Brittany, very good companies, and a wonderful man and a Amiga lover and Amos ex-Amos user, and he was the first one to really believe in the product to the point of saying, "I'm okay to finance further development." So he was the real kickstart. Unfortunately, he doesn't have time to work a lot on the code itself, but still is making really cool database extension to allow database access. Then as one good thing brings another one. I got in touch with Laurent Veil. Laurent Veil, for the one who don't know, is the founder of Loriciel. There, if you are in retro computing, you must know Loriciel. Loriciel was number one publisher between 91 and 93 in France and several years in Europe, and they have published so many hits that it would be a long list. So Laurent Veil was somehow told me he was keeping an eye on me since the years of Stos and Amos. And magically we met and we worked very well together, and he's now the CEO of AoZ Studio. The last but not the least that joined the team is Baptiste Bidot. So Baptiste is a professional ex-Amos user, Amiga lover, of course. He's a e-learning professional and also making serious gaming and these kind of things. And he really, so we share the same vision on the fact that the tool should be at the same time simple and powerful, and that's it. So he joined the project immediately and programs with me. We are two programmers, him and me. He's more focused on the interface and the IDE, and I am more focused on the transpiler. So that's about it. Of course, there are some. We have a Facebook page. We have a Discord server. So you are very welcome to join. The version you can download, but I will say it again. You click there on free version, and you will have the latest beta. That's it for the presentation of the team. I hope it was not too boring, and see you for the next. For the walkthrough the interface. So let's start AoZ Studio. And you have the splash screen. So the first thing you see is the graphic design. I know that the people who are watching this are adults and are more used to more serious interface. You have to understand that AoZ Studio is designed for kids to learn programming, which doesn't mean that it can only be used by kids, but we focus the graphic design for them. Yet, when the version is released in September, it will come with, of course, themes, and there will be some more serious ones. So this is the interface. The interface is based on Atom. We started initially by doing it in Visual Studio Code, but it was too strict and too serious. Whereas Atom, which is based on the same kind of engine, basically a browser inside of the application using Node.js, offers more possibilities of customization and some ways was more suited for the project. So this is an Atom-based editor, and as you can see, we have made the interface is the brainchild of Baptiste Bidot. We designed the interface so that it is the simplest, as simple as possible, and the goal was to reproduce my personal first experience on a computer. In 1981, when I received my 6502 based machine, the Superboard 2. It was my first computer. I only had the TI-57 before, so I knew nothing about computers. So I set it up, I plug it, and 5 minutes later, I had my first real program without bugs. Of course, print hello world. 5 minutes for the first time you touch a computer. 5 minutes later, you have made a program that runs without bugs. So it was a fantastic kickstart. Of course, you're not going to stay to print hello world. So the next thing I did on the Superboard was 10 print hello world, 20 go to 10, and then I had a running program without bugs. So it's a good start. So we wanted to reproduce the same experience. So imagine you're a kid and you want to create an app. You never touch programming. You do plus, you choose a program, you put the name, and then I can do my print hello world, and to press to run F2, and that's it. So that's the immediate reward that we want to bring back. Cut all the lengthy things. You know, if you think about what it takes to make a hello world, it's okay in Python, but still you have to install the tools, you have to choose the editor, etc. Hello world in Java, hello world on the phone, all this is really difficult today and vastly above the possibilities of a 12-year-old, normal 10 or 12-year-olds without the help of his parents. So that's what we wanted to access. So the editor, of course, you have the new project. So you can create an AoZ project. An AoZ project are web applications, so they work on every machine, including Linux, Mac, and phones, iOS and Android. You can also create, and then I will come back later, Amiga AMOS compatible application, and the runtime of AoZ has Amiga display emulator and Amiga sound emulator. And you can create project that works everywhere. Please note that this dialog box, and that's what we tend to do, is actually an AoZ application. So all the tools, except the core of the editor, is programmed with AoZ, and that's always what I was thinking, that it's good to build the tool with the tools so that you are creating, so that you can first test it and make sure that no instruction or no possibilities is missed. It's only by using what you create that you can actually try it. This is to open an external project. AoZ projects are saved in the form of AoZip, which is basically a zip file containing the folder. Save as. AoZ contains a direct mode, so you can type commands like it used to be on Amos. If you Amos user, you pressed escape and you went into direct mode and pressed escape and went back again. So I press escape and I'm back. You can run the application inside of AoZ, like this one, in what we call the AoZ viewer. Or sorry, you can run them inside of a browser, and you can run them inside of the AoZ viewer. The main advantage of the AoZ viewer is that it comes with a debugger, and I will make a demo of the debugger later. So let's, I will show you some application. So the first real demo that I made and was quite proud was made in 4 hours, like 3 years ago. It's called Infinite Balls, and so let's run it in the browser. The speed is not going to. Oh, I love it. Okay. Infinite ball will not work. It works there. Okay, it doesn't work. Okay, that's the. I had to add my demo effect. So let's run another one, a simpler one. Okay. Okay, I'm back. Well, I had to have a demo effect. That's mandatory in every conference. So I had it, and now it works. It still is in beta, and we're doing as much as we can to avoid this kind of problem. So I have this infinite ball demo that I'm going to run in the browser by pressing F1. So basically, it turns Amiga, and that's the screen capture that reduced the frame rate. But you can see that the graphic engine allows, like we have like 2,500 Amiga balls. Normally, it runs at 50 hertz without screen capture. And so we did our best so that AoZ is not only a learning tool but also a real game engine. Because I personally think that there's nothing worse than to have no hope when you're learning something of doing something good. If you know from the start that your game will never run in the frame, then you're not motivated. Whereas if you have a simple tool that produces good quality thing, then you have the motivation. That's really what we wanted to do. So, for example, I've got some games, kind of cool ones, like this one, or this one first, made by an English guy called Phil Bell. Very talented. Lot of cool things in this game, and what is very cool is that it's very easy to make a phone version. Just change the size of the screen, and it works everywhere. So you can see as well, and I will come to back to it later, which is one of the major features, is that you can, in a very simple way, include JavaScript and mix JavaScript, real JavaScript, with your AoZ application by simply opening and closing a curly bracket. This is another game created by Phil, and this one really shows the power of the graphic and sound engine, and it's a good demo. It's a bit long to compile because you have a lot of graphic resources, but there we are. It will come. So you can play, it's HTML5, so you can do whatever you need to do, play videos, and it's completely open. That's the power of modern machines. As you can see, it has online leaderboards that you can integrate in a very simple manner in your application. And it's a basic shoot but with a very good music and a lot of things happening at the end. I talked to you a bit about the Amiga, and let's do something. Let's go back to this little print hello world. If I do run, you can see that the window is modern size 1920. It's a full HD screen. But if I use this instruction and run it again, I had to cut. If I use this manifest Amiga instruction, you will see that now you have the display of AMOS under the Amiga. So understand that AoZ doesn't emulate completely the Amiga. It emulates the Amiga under AMOS. And as AMOS was a bit famous for having stolen the display of the machine and not liked by many people because of that, it's a lot simpler for us to do. We don't have to have all the intuition windows and all the big stuff in the back. We just have a display of AMOS. That's why you can create games like this one. You can import, and it's another game from Phil, which was the original idea behind Cyblock. It was called Cyball, and it was on an Amiga. He actually made on his YouTube channel AoZ with Phil. He made a video documented the port from the real AMOS application to the Amiga, the AoZ version. And but you can run it. It runs in modern browsers. You can recognize the AMOS screen, and this looks and feels even at the sound and everything. But this runs in a browser, etc. So something I didn't talk about is this icon, which allows you to instantly, in one click, publish and put online your application. So if I click on it, I have two options. So for personal use, you create a link or you publish your application. The main problem when you create a web application is that they are supposed to be distributed online. Imagine you're 12 or 13. You're not going to ask to your parents to buy a server. You will have to learn FTP and all this, and finally have your game online. This is why, if you want to share your game with someone, you just click there. So first it performs a really deep compilation with optimization of your application with a few warnings if you have the necessity in your application. And when it's over, you get the application is automatically uploaded on AoZ servers, and a QR code is created that you can scan with your phone. Will I try it? I will first try it in the browser. So it was pasted in the browser. There we go. And there we go. Okay, and now I take the risk. Will it work on my phone? It should. La camera. there we are. So it is that simple, and that's the AoZ comes also with the concept of accessories. One of the things that was really handy in Amos and STOS were accessories. For example, you wanted to find the number of a key, you had the key accessory, and you tap on the key, and it displays the number of the key so that you can use it in your application. That we have in AoZ. So there, for example, my mouse is, yeah, you have all the accessories there. So let's start the first one. So as you can see, AoZ accessories are AoZ application that are run in a separate window. So this one, you can view the ASCII code and etc. Another accessory, the fonts. There is nothing more important than having proper fonts in an application, and I've worked a lot on that section of the of AoZ. Also, as you can see, you have Amiga fonts and you have Topaz and all this kind of font that are supported, the original Amiga fonts, and it's Atom. And basically, Atom is a browser. We also have included a really good online editing tool like Photopea. So there it is. And then I have my own version of Photoshop that can load and save on my machine. We also have included Piskel, which is a really cool sprite editing tool. So here too, you load and save your animations and sprite directly into your AoZ application. We also have included links to art and sounds and music website where you can find a lot of free content for the games. Very simple. It also comes, let me demo it to you with an interface designer, because of course it's HTML. So there I could put buttons and dialog box, etc. So you can create your game interface in a very simple manner. And when it's created, then you update the code editor, and this is a perfect demonstration. It has created a new procedure that displays the button, and that usually comes with a full debugger specially made. So this is a text version of Pac-Man. So let's click on the debugger. The debugger is a transparent screen that lays above the application. The application continues to run, and you can see the variable change and all this in real time. You can, of course, stop the application and step through it like this. And you have a console that allows you to print data, you can set breakpoints, etc. So that's about it for the walkthrough, and see you for the next chapter. So let's go a bit more technical now. So when you build an AoZ application, it creates a folder called HTML that contains the transpiled version of the application. I recall to you that a transpiler is not exactly a compiler. A compiler takes a high-level code and converts it into machine language directly understandable by the processor. That's not what a transpiler is. A transpiler takes a high-level language, in this case BASIC, and converts it into another high-level language, which is JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. So what you have in the HTML folder is in fact a website. And the AoZ IDE also contains a local server that is used when you run the application inside of the browser. So who says website says unindex.html. And these files are created on the go by the transpiler, including the rest of the source code. The actual code lays there. This is a rather complex application, and all this code will you'll have an option to minify it. But this is the open version. The one that we are interested in is the application.js that actually contains the application. So first it loads some big data, and then you can see if you look at the original ASCII-man, you can see that, for example, d with the height. If I look here, you have a correspondence between the syntax of the basic application and the syntax of the JavaScript. My goal when making the transpiler was to teach as well what code is and open the gate for the learner to continue to JavaScript. There you have the actual runtime with the 3.js renderer, the canva.js renderer. AoZ also contains a complete emulation of the file system. The problem being that when you run an application in your browser, you do not have access to the local machine. So we had to do something, especially for Amiga application that were do real application on the machine and were using drive and DF0, DH1, etc. So what we did is that we are when the application runs in the browser, you still have a small file system which uses the local data area of each application in a browser, and you can save and load files that are persistent between sessions in a simple way. If you run your application under Atom, then when you load something in the AoZ application, it calls Atom in the back, and you can actually access the local file. We're also thinking about having what we call a companion server on the side that will interface with the machine, but it's a lot of work, and especially on the level of security. So we have tried, the runtime is also a complete API. Every instruction of the language has its equivalent in the runtime itself. So we will publish in September when the first version is out, as well AoZ as a run library that will be open source for any developer to make game in JavaScript directly, but with a library that will manage most of the work for you. The main thing I wanted to show is how we actually program all the instruction in AoZ. So let's go for the bobs. You can see that the code that defines the bob is an AoZ application. It's not an application. It's what we call a module. So it mixes instructions. It defines the instruction with the basic instructions and an instruction, and inside we call the main library. So you can see that there I call current screen and the bob primitive when you add a bob. If I open this one, for example, you have all the palette instructions. So basically we are programming the language with the language. It's all the instruction, all the syntax is defined in modules and extensions, like all the file systems, mixing JavaScript, or they could also be programmed directly in BASIC, and some extensions are programmed in BASIC using the other instruction. And the level of the compatibility of the instruction with the Amiga, we're doing what we can, but some instruction, like the Rex instruction, would need a complete Amiga emulator. So we set some instruction will have no effect, and simply no effects. I forgot, and you have also what we call the extensions, and this extension folder will grow for robotics, for control the hardware, for database, etc. We already have a lot of extension like this source code editor, which is basically you open a complete source code editor with sliders and possibility of edition in one instruction. You have interface with the speech. You can play tracker music. You have a translation engine, WebSocket, etc. So it's very open, and we hope that people will understand the power of all this and will participate and publish. And we'll do our best to provide you with a store as soon as we have the resources to do it, so that all the creativity can be published. So now the next step will be the future. So the roadmap for the future version of AoZ, first of all, is to have a real 3D engine integrated, have a physical engine as well, because physics in games are so cool. We will also make a scene editor to like in Fusion, like in Click Fusion, so that you can dispose all the game element. We will also focus on object orientation. Object orientation is perfectly possible in BASIC and can be really nice to look at and very simple. So in September, the version will, there's already a system of object, but it has not been used since a long time. We're focusing on first making the flat version of the language work. But in September, you will have a full object orientation with derivative and classes and all this in a simple way. Because learning objects is also key to learning how to code. On a more fun side and more exciting, as we want to be present in schools, in classes, and when the product is out, we're already in a full section of the French education system, and will be in hundreds of schools starting September. But we want to be all over the world and do our best to teach the proper programming to kids, instead of Scratch is too much of a protected environment to really learn what's is coding. And to do so, we will interface with robotics. Not only mbots, Winky, all the cool robots that you can find today will have their own extension, and you will be able to move them, like for example, to move an mbot. I cannot show you the demo, it doesn't work unfortunately today. Mbot move, and you have the robot that moves. So this can teach a lot of things to kids, especially make the relationship between what is in the screen and what you have in real life. This also will enable us to make a version of AoZ and extension specifically designed to ease the development on Arduino and on Arduino, because you know the Arduino SDK is really cool, but it's C. So it's not very user friendly, and apart from the Arduino SDK in C, what you have is Scratch-like application, and you have no simple in-between programming language, and then this is where AoZ could change things. So wait for a maker-oriented version of the software and semi-professional version of AoZ functioning under Visual Studio Code. We would hope to be in the heart of people that create games and multimedia application, like replacement of Flash. Flash was very popular during a certain amount of years, and it was a despair for many people when Adobe stopped making Flash, and still missed today. So that's about it, and it's only the beginning of the adventure. It's been like 3 years that we've been working like crazy on this. I hope I have just given you the envy to look at it and connect to our website. Now I still have to mount the different segments of this video and make it fit in 45 minutes, and I see you right after watching this. See you. Thank you. I forgot to show you this. We're also working on a way to program the Amiga directly from AoZ in Amos. So it consists of a NAMOS application that runs there in WinUIE in the back and waits for you to compile an application in AoZ. Sorry. So this is a simple application that does nothing. And by pressing Control F7, there is no interface. It saves a cut down version or only a more specific version of your application and in a folder in WinUIE, and then you just build it on the machine, and then it will run on the Amiga. I cannot show it to you; it doesn't work, but we're working on that so that you have a streamlined environment development between the Amiga and your machine, being a Mac or a PC or Linux. The little utility that runs in the background will detect automatically that the file has been changed, and so you run on the PC and it will appear on the Amiga. So it's going to be magical. So this is Baptiste who's doing that, and he's a hardcore Amiga fan. So cool.